Hi, welcome back to Creatio's Tech Hour. My name is Lena and I'm Creatio Academy trainer. Today our topic is setting up queues to optimize your workload. And the topic will cover basically how to add a new queue object. We will discuss what objects you can add to a queue, basically, which can be used for that purpose. And then we'll take a look at what is necessary actually to do in terms of setup, because you cannot just add an object to your queues lookup. That's not enough. Before the object will be available to your agent, basically, or to be added into the agent's desktop, you need to set up a queue. And in order to do that, you will notice that we do need to think about and create a business process, because again, when the agent processes something from the agent desktop, from the queue, what they're doing, they're following a particular process that we set up for them. This process, unlike maybe processes that we looked at in previous session, which was how to process multiple records, in a way, this topic is actually kind of is an extension of that. It is still about processing multiple records, but in this regard, you need first of all to have the service license, and you need to have the need for the person to take a look at the record. So if business processes a lot of the times will process multiple records in the background without any user interaction, here the process involves an actual person who is an agent who will get that record in their queue, and they will need to interact with the record somehow. Maybe they need to check something before sending the record, making changes in it, qualifying, disqualifying it, something like that. So the case for today will be, we are a company that does a lot of events. I know they can be even online events, even if we're still in lockdown modes. I know that's probably, we're kind of coming out of them, but if you're not, still online events do require registrations. And what we need to do is process those event registrations. So that's going to be our business case for today. What we are going to do, we're going to modify a bit. We're going to take the event participant page, add a couple of fields that are necessary for us to work with for this case, and then we're going to think about the process that the agent needs to go through in order to qualify that registration. Just kind of like making sure that it's a valid registration, that maybe we can issue a payment for that person, or maybe we need to send them a link. That's a whole other topic of what happens after the end of this process. This process is going to be, again, quite limited in terms of scope. The agent will take a look at the event registration, qualify or disqualify that particular registration. So let's jump into today's session. So as you can see, I'm already using 7.18.0, and we have nice homepage functionality here available. So we're going to be starting with modifications that we need to do to the event participant page before we will jump into basically queues processing. So because again, I'm just assuming that I need more fields. I need the object that I'm working with today is not meant at this point to be processed by the queues functionality. Doesn't have enough fields. It does. I need to record which agent processes this event participant, things like that, basically. So let's go to audience. This is my detail that I'm going to be working with, and I'm just going to go into the detail setup to make a couple changes to it. So let's load the page. Okay, here is my page. As you can see, I have my event, my response. The target container is the contact field, and we have some notes. So what I want to do here, again, just to prepare this object for the queue processing, is add fields like process by, so I can record the agent who makes the decision to qualify or disqualify. Then I'm going to add a field like registration method. Again, maybe we know that this is a phone call that we received, somebody registered for the event, maybe it's an email, maybe a landing page, so things like that. Then we're going to have the Boolean field for whether this lead is disqualified, the reasons for disqualification, which are going to be filled within the process of processing this in the agent desktop, in the queue, invoice on, and basically an agent comment. So let's just throw a couple of fields here so we have more to work with. Again, this object originally was not meant to be processed by the queues functionality. I am modifying it to make sure that I have enough information. Processed by. So this is where I'm going to record my agent. The lookup is going to be a contact. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make most of these fields actually read-only. The reason for that is they're going to be completed, they're going to be filled with the business process and not by person. So this way I know that the record went through the process, the due process that I set up, and a person cannot just mess with it and change it outside of the queue process. So save. Okay, something did not go well. Let's try again. Processed by. Again, read only. No? Okay, let's refresh. Okay, it's just being a little slow, so I'll have to redo what I was doing. Sometimes happens, but I'm showing you the entire process without skipping it. Okay, so actually let me do one thing. I'm just gonna quickly click save, maybe kind of creating a replacement schema and replacement objects for in the meantime. Maybe this is gonna help. Okay, done. Now let's try this again. Hopefully this time it's going to be faster. Processed by. Look up contact and read only. Okay, we have started. So let me create another lookup that currently doesn't exist. That's going to be the registration method. And it's going to be a new lookup event. Registration method. Okay. This one I'm going to leave unlocked just so we can make some changes to it. Again, assuming that we know where the participant is coming from. Boolean disqualified. Again, read only. Now, another lookup, which is reason for disqualification. Reason for application. There's actually a similar object called disqualification reason in the lead section, so I'm gonna do a separate object just so I can add more values to it. Reason for application. Vacation. Okay, save. Again, read only. So things like that. Let's just do, again, I'm kind of thinking ahead a bit of this case and something I will not be utilizing in the process, but something that maybe is useful, for example, like having an invoice. Linked to this registration. Maybe that's a whole other different process for this, but it's just like additional information I think we might need on the registration page. Save, and let's do invoice date, invoiced on. And this one we're going to be making read only. And last thing, we're going to do the agent comment. That's the one we're actually going to utilize. Agent comment. So again, making it read only and multi-line text. Okay, so I have some basic information that I want to add to this page. Here it is. Let's go ahead and click save. Again, there could be a lot more things that I would be adding to this page if I thought through this entire business case. What other fields there could be, how I'm dealing with this event registration. So right now I'm focusing on those fields that are necessary for the process I'm going to build in order for the agent to process the record in the agent desktop. So again, this is no way an entire case, business solution case, but just a quick demonstration of what needs to be added in order for me to utilize this particular object in my queue when the agent takes a look at it. So let's wait for the object to save, and then we will move to setting up a new queue object and then setting up the business process for it. Again, it's going to be a very short, simple process. Potentially, you can have additional processes, maybe when you issue an invoice, maybe again when you do something else with this particular registration. But think about what needs to be processed through the agent rather than automated through the business processes. Does a person need to take a look at it? That's probably one of the main questions that you need to ask yourself when dealing with the queues functionality, right? If it's completely automated, if it can be done on the back end without user interaction, without any user approval, things like that, then it's not particularly necessary to add that as your queue object and then for your agent to take a look at this. In this regard, again, I'm thinking that this registration needs to go through the human touch before we automate it further. So, okay, let's refresh as well. Here, so I'll show you that my page, my participant page, is now my audience page. Here it is. Additional fields, most of them are locked. I need to fill out my 2 of the lookups that I've created, so let's go ahead and do that. Lookups. So reason for disqualification. Let's do false registration. Oh, I think I made a mistake. Second. Let's fix this. Canceled. Maybe again we got in touch with the person, they decided to cancel it. Well, let's do duplicate, maybe something like that. So again, a couple of reasons that we can enter as the reasons for disqualification. And the registration method, again, that's not going to be too much utilized in the case particularly, but just so we have extra logic here. So for maybe a call, email, campaign. So maybe when we create a new audience, new event participant, we list that as well. Call, event, campaign. What else can it be? Landing page. Okay, done. All good. Now I'm going to proceed to the contact center and I'm going to go to the queues setup. So what I need to do here, when adding a new queue, I'm going to go to queue settings, actions, queue sorting setup. So that's where I configure which objects will be used for queues. As you can see, I have my 4 objects: contact, account, case, and order. Again, I'm not limited by these 4. I'm going to add a new one. And this is going to be event. Oh, no, cannot do that this way. Event participant. Here it is. As you can see, if you take a closer look at this list, all of the objects are available here. So you really are not limited by those 4 or just sections. Again, it doesn't have to be a section. It can be a detail. Just think about how it's going to be utilized in your business. Now, when setting up a queue, for the entire object, so you can have multiple queues, obviously, for each of these objects. For example, we process event participants for a particular event. We process event participants with a particular response type, registration date, things like that. We can create multiple queues within the same queue object. But whether this is a blind or a regular queue, that we determine that based on the object. So all the queues for event participant will be either regular queues or blind. And that matters basically, do you want to be very strict which record the agent takes, or do you have a little bit of flexibility? So blind queues means that the agent will not have an option to choose records from the list. They'll have the button next, basically, next record, and they're going to proceed to the next record. With the regular queue, really, we do push some of them to the top. We do have a priority, how we sort within a given queue, within multiple queues as well. So, but the agent really will have an option to select a record that's maybe lower on the list, because they will have access to it and process kind of ignoring the order. So in this regard, you need to really think about, do you want it to be very, very restrictive for the agent, or are you okay if occasionally the agent will not take the latest record, that not the one that's on the top, but maybe the one lower on the list, because they will have potentially that option. So I'm gonna settle for the regular queue right now, because again, I want to demonstrate that records have been added to a particular queue, and we can work with them. So after that, I'm going to add my sorting column, my column being created on date, and let's do ascending from the latest registration to the earliest one. So here it is. By the way, you can have multiple columns for sorting options, and priority will matter. The higher the priority, the higher that is going to be taken into account when the system sorts these records inside of the queue. Okay, done. We have our sorting object, event, participant. The next thing that we need to do, and if you go here and click new queue, you will notice that the thing that I need to fill out when setting up a queue, my object is already here. I need a business process. I cannot proceed without having a business process that will be utilized for this particular queue. So let's go ahead and create the business process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the system designer. I'm going to go to the process library, and here's you can approach this task in two ways. You can create a new business process, and you can copy an existing one. If you copy an existing out-of-the-box process, you eliminate the possibility of making a mistake in your process parameters. Those process parameters are very important. If you do not set them up correctly, the process will not be added to your queue. So let me show you the copy approach. So I'm going to find the process called with the agent desktop. So take case from agent desktop or process order. It doesn't really matter. What I'm looking for here is I want to copy this process. I'm going to erase, I'm going to delete all the elements, but the properties of the process will be copied as well, which at least in this, if I'm just starting to work with this functionality, if I'm not that familiar with it, that's an easier approach. That's because the properties that you need to configure, the parameters are going to be there exactly as they need to be, and I'm going to point out them as well. So, okay, here it is. And we'll take a look at these parameters. If your process lacks those parameters, the system will tell you that they need to be there. It's going to tell you what the codes for them are supposed to be. So it's not impossible to create a process from scratch without copying an existing one. But if you're not familiar, this is probably an easier approach. Okay, here it is. Here's my process. I'm going to change the title right away. Processing event participants in agent desktop queue. Again, what I'm going to do is just remove all of these elements. I don't need them. And the reason I decided to copy this existing process are these two parameters, queue item ID and select record ID. So this code for each of these parameters is very important. If it's not configured correctly, again, the system will not, it's going to tell you it cannot add that business process to your queue. So here's the first one, queue item ID, and the second one is entity record ID. So these are the codes that you need to utilize in your process. Both of them are unique identifiers. So let's proceed. So in my process, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to read my event participant record that got created, either automatically or manually. Again, maybe they registered through a landing page and it was part of the campaign. Maybe we received a phone call. We can think about that. Read event participant. Event participant where ID equals that parameter. Select record ID. Yeah, by the way, this is the parameter for an individual record. So the queue utilizes two: queue parameter, so knowing which queue to connect this process to, and the individual record ID. Because when the queues get populated, they get, we are adding records to them. So individual records that will be processed within the queue, that's the ID parameter for them. That's already, did I not select it? Okay, now I did. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to modify my agent information regardless whether the regardless if my record gets qualified or disqualified. I still need to record who the agent that's making that decision. So I'm gonna do this right now. Update process by. Or let's call it actually agent information. Process by is a bit too ambiguous. So it's going to be again my event participant object. And the field is going to be process by current user contact, whoever is the current agent that took this record, right? Because again, queues are created for multiple people to work with them. So potentially you can have a lot of people who could grab this record in order to process it. So we're going to record exactly who that person is. And next, I'm going to utilize the pre-configured page to display information about that particular registration. So I'm going to just add a couple of fields to this page. It's not going to be the entire page that we, well, first of all, the page that we have in the detail. If you're familiar with code, you can obviously utilize it and open that page. If we want to go with the no code, low code route, I'm going to recreate basically a mini version or very similar version to an event participant page with just a couple of fields. So for example, contact, response, my agent information, and maybe registration method, things like that. So let's go ahead and do that. This way, I will not need a code to pre-fill the data, and I can insert it into this page without a problem. So I'm going to select the grid page because that's what was used in the detail page. So I'm going to have a lookup event. So we're going to pass the information about which event this person is attending. And I'm going to make everything read only. So again, the purpose for our agent is not to modify this registration, but rather to review it. So second. Now, let's extend this. The next one is going to be contact. All the fields already exist here, so read only. Save. Okay, let me try again. I don't know, things are a bit slow today. Event, let's call it not contact, but event, so event participant. So lookup is going to be the contact record. Again, read only. Okay, this time it worked. We're gonna do the response. Response in events, read only. And let's do, what else can we do? Actually, the agent comment, what I'm going to do is I can provide it here for the agent to leave a comment, or I can do it later on in a auto-generated page, so to kind of provide reasons for disqualifications. Actually, let's do it in both places. So if it's disqualified, we are going to replace this message. If it's qualified, we also can have a place for a comment. Agent comment. And let's make it multi-line. So again, something very simple, just a couple of fields that we need. Check, I'm going to call this page check event participant registration information. Okay, let's hit save. Okay, waiting patiently for the element to be saved. And after that, what we're going to do is provide a question, pose a question for our agent saying, do you qualify or disqualify this registration? And then based on the answer, if we qualify, then we terminate the process. If we disqualify, we specify the reasons for disqualification and update the record after that. Again, this process could be probably more complex, involve more steps, but that's where we need to get more into the business side of it. So for the purpose of this video, this is going to be enough to demonstrate to you how to use the functionality, what you need to think about basically, and how to approach this task. Okay, patience. Patience is key when working with cloud. At least the demo cloud, the trials and so on. I have a feeling that the new release is actually quite popular based on the numbers of the cloud instances, because I have another one which is 7.18.0, and yeah, in a matter of basically what, 2 days, I think, it seems like we have created 400 bundles, so that's a lot. That's the difference in numbers, and I think that's why things are a little bit slower for me today. So, okay, here's our pre-configured page. Let's give it a name. We're just going to copy this name here. Erase this user. Check event participant registration information. And what we're going to do next is pre-fill those fields from the read event participant information. So that's why we were reading the event participant. Okay, so event process element, event participant is going to be our contact. Here it is. Process parameter response again coming from here, and agent comment, which is going to leave blank so the agent can comment. Now, after that, we're going to pose the question to our agent. Qualify registration. And we're choosing from one of the options, yes and no. So again, it's going to be filled out by the current user contact. Whoever got here will be answering this question. And at this point, we're going to be splitting into 2 flows. The first conditional flow is going to say yes, qualify, and then terminate the process. And if the answer is no, we're going to open this auto-generated page and we'll take a look at the difference between the two. You're probably already familiar, but in case you're not, I'll show you the difference. So this is going to be specify reason for this qualification. That's the title of the element and the page. Let's give it a button, done, style green, and page items are going to be a selection field, reason for disqualification, data source, reason for disqualification. And by the way, see, disqualification reason, that's another object lookup that exists in leads. That's why I chose to name mine this way. And it's going to be a drop-down list. And then next, we're going to do text field, comment. Let's do it required, multi-line. So the agent will have to put something in, like they will, if they disqualify the registration, they can't be anonymous, well, not anonymous, but silent about. They have to justify why they chose particular reasons. So just expand a little bit on that matter. So what I'm going to do now is then drag my second conditional flow, qualify registration no, and after that we're going to update our registration and update participant. what we're going to do is cancel their registration, basically set their status to cancel, and to transfer the comment and that sort of information to it, to the record. So it's going to be there. And again, remember it's okay, so now it's a symmetrical. Fields that we're interested in. Agent comment. Disqualified, we're going to definitely put a checkbox there. We are going to change process by, we already have this field, reason for disqualification, and we're going to change response. So, okay, agent comment is going to come from the, here from this comment, from the auto-generated page. Disqualified, which is a checkbox, we're going to put true. Reasons for disqualification will come from the auto-generated page, this lookup. And the response will be changed to canceled. And after that, we're going to terminate the process. So here it is. Let's go ahead and save this process. And while the process is saving, by the way, if you're watching this live, if you're watching this in recording, leave us a comment about any other topic maybe that you would like us to cover. Because again, we are scheduling these based on what we see as an interest in topics to be covered. But if you have a particular question or a particular case that you would like us to review, we are interested to hear. We're interested in hearing your opinion. So please let us know in the comments below. So, okay, we have the process. Let's go back to the queues and let's set up our queue. So this is going to be new event registration queue. If you have multiple queues per one queue type, queue object, then a priority for the queue will matter. So obviously queues with the highest priority will be displayed higher. Plus within that particular queue, the object, obviously the records will be sorted based on the sorting parameters that we specified in the queue type. So here's our queue type. Business process is going to be, let's start typing, processing event participants in agent desktop queue. Let's determine which records we're going to add to the queue. It's going to be filtered automatically, and this is going to be response planned. For now, that's the standard response that's provided to any new added basically participant. So here it is. And most importantly, team. So here's the thing, even if you're the system administrator, which when we do demonstrations, trainings, and so on, that's the user we most of the time use. But even the system administrator will not be able to see the records in the queue, or the queue basically itself, if they're not added as an agent. So let's go ahead and add ourselves. I'm going to add myself as an agent, so I'll be able to access this queue. Oh no. Second. I've seen this message far too many times in the last couple of days. Okay, I think I will have to, will I have to go from the beginning? I think it kind of saved it before. Here it is. So the only thing I lost, well, I need my team. Okay, and that's going to be just me for now. Here it is, and I'm going to put the status to in progress. And next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to go to fill queues. Okay, let's go to the agent desktop. Here's our event participant records here. Let's see, maybe it's still taking time for the records to be added. Let's double check. Okay, here they are, so it took a second. Now, you can configure the columns for display. So for example, I have created on and queue. I probably want my contact name, something like that, instead of notes. So maybe create on, but I do want the contact from the event participant. Let's call it event participant. I'm going to say for all users. So here it is, names of my participants. As you can see, this is a regular queue. If I had a blind queue, I only had an option to basically next the record. I would not see all of these records here. So let's go ahead and add this. As you can see, here's my process, right? Locked, locked, locked as well. So let's put an agent comment. Again, we're going to go through two flows. Basically, we're going to go through our happy path and basically the alternative. So first one I'm going to test out as a happy path. So let's say that Sherry is good. Checked payment. Let's say the event payment received. Okay, click save. Qualify registration. Actually, I did realize there's something missing in my process, so I'll point out this right now. So let's do the qualify registration. Say yes, and I'm going to show you what I've actually missed. That was so let's find that was Sharon Wilford. So let's do contacts. That's probably going to be easier to find which event she was attending. So 1 second. I should have remembered. Here, Winford Sherry, and let's take a look at which events she has. So that's probably like the only downside to it, because you need to remember who I'm processing. So activities, no, that's a website event. Events here, that was platform functionality webinar. So in my audience, what I have, I can search for her. Again, I can change to response type to that's one thing that I forgot to do, and we're going to update it right now. So let's search for her, apply filter. Again, contains not notes, I need contact. Sherry. So it's still planned. Oh, sorry about that. But here's the process by response type. The agent comment didn't transfer and the response type didn't change. So what I need to do is basically go ahead and change my, here, modify. Yes. Parameters, so update event participant. Which objects to modify? Event participant. Again, that comment that I'm making on this page, I'm going to be transferring that and changing the response. So agent comment is going to come from check event registration, agent comment, and response is going to be a lookup value, participation confirmed. So two different updates that need to happen in the record before this becomes a valid process. So I forgot this element originally. Okay, let's change this and go back to the agent desktop. So Robin, new, and we can actually add the maybe event as well. Event participant, event. Okay, platform functionality webinar. So this is what we're mostly working with. Okay, let's go open this record. Let's disqualify this one so we kind of mix this up and then go back to the happy path again. So Robin, false registration, something like that. Qualify, no. Reasons for different false registration, not enough information. And we can find Robin in our events. So if I go to marketing, events, I think we're mostly processing that one particular event, which is webinar, no, this one. Which webinar are we processing? Platform functionality of webinar, that's it. So we can now, as you can see, Robin's response has been changed to canceled. This is good. Again, sorry about that. Here, disqualified, not enough information, false registration, so everything was transferred correctly. So let's do one more test case for the happy path for after the updates. Again, platform functionality webinar, planned payment received. Qualify, no. Duplicate. And let's go back to the event. Platform functionality of webinar. Oh, did I cancel? Oh, I didn't mean to cancel him. Sorry about that. Sorry, guys. It's Friday. What can I say? I need to do the happy path one because we already did test this. Oh, payment received. I did type that and then disqualify that. I think that's what I clicked. Yeah. So this qualification registration, yes. Okay. Marketing, events, platform functionality webinar. Here, participation confirmed. Okay, all good. So I've tested both of these solutions. I have my happy path, I have my alternative path, and basically this is the basic steps that you need to take in order to set up the queue, a new queue type based on a new object. Then you need to build your process. You can test out the process prior to adding it to the queue and setting up the queue. So my suggestion would be to basically add this process, to launch this process first, maybe from your detail, test it out, see how it works, and then basically set up the final queue. So thank you for watching today's session. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. We'll be happy to answer them. And again, if you have any topics that you would like us to cover, let us know. See you next week. And the next topic is going to be the 7.18 release. So that's going to be the topic for next week. Okay, see you Wednesday. Bye.